Hey Baddies! In this video, I'm making pumpkin seed sourdough bread. This bread is loaded with seeds that I roast in a bit of soy sauce to add some extra flavor, and trust me, it's absolutely delicious. So, let's get started. First, prepare the dough by mixing the flours, salt, starter, and water until it's well combined and the flour is fully hydrated. Once you're done mixing, set it aside to rest for 1 hour. I have some unsalted and unroasted pumpkin seeds that I mix with a tablespoon of soy sauce before roasting it in the oven for 8 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The soy sauce might look intense, but it's not actually overwhelming. It just gives a subtle savory flavor to the bread. If you don't want to add it in, that's completely fine, just roast the seeds without it. Once the dough has rested for an hour, knead it for 1 to 2 minutes until it's smooth and holds its shape. Then cover it and leave it to rest for another 20 minutes. After resting, the gluten should be fully developed, so it's a good time to mix in the cooled roasted pumpkin seeds. Using wet hands, dimple the dough and sprinkle in 1/4 of the seeds. Stretch the dough up, then fold it over itself, and repeat this process 3 more times. Cover the dough and leave it to rest for 40 minutes. After resting, wet your hands and perform your first set of stretch and folds. The seeds make the dough quite strong and not very stretchy, so you don't need to pull on it too hard. Just focus more on folding the dough over itself. "40 minutes later, do a second and final set of stretch and folds before transferring the dough to a glass bowl. Mark the side of the bowl so you can clearly monitor the growth. When you add inclusions to your bread, they weigh down the dough and require a longer bulk fermentation to rise properly, so I do this to make sure that I don't underproof it. The total bulk fermentation time lasted 6.5 hours at 76 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see the dough rose about 50% in volume. To pre-shape, I use wet hands to loosen the dough from the edges of the bowl, and very gently fold in the sides before flipping it out onto the table. Then I use my bench scraper to round the dough into a ball. Leave it to rest uncovered for 15 minutes. I dust my proofing basket with whole wheat flour, then final shape the dough into a loaf. The seeds add a lot of strength to the dough, so you don't need to shape it too tightly. This part is optional, but I like to coat the loaf in some more unroasted pumpkin seeds before placing it into the basket. If you don't have a spray bottle, you can also roll the dough in a wet towel before rolling it in the seeds. I let the dough rest at room temperature for 20 minutes before placing it in the fridge to final proof for 15 hours. You can leave it in the fridge for anywhere from 12 to 24 hours, or you can also final proof it at room temperature for 2 to 3 hours. The next day, I sprinkle the bottom of the dough with some whole wheat flour to prevent sticking. Flip it out of the proofing basket and score it. I bake it in a preheated 450-degree oven for 18 minutes with steam. and then for another 12 minutes at 410 degrees without steam.